So next up we've got George from Fairfax, and I've got
The Wills.
names. Will and Will from Sydney Uni. And just speak up if you could.
Yep.
Get a bit of
I like being loud.
It's fast.
I'm just going to open by saying I could not agree more with you guys. Everything you said is exactly the sort of experience we're in. So what the topic we're going to be talking on today is actually follows on what you guys are talking about, which is how to draw concepts out of mass corpuses of text. And it's a platform that we've codenamed Fizzing Panda. It's a great name. No one knows what it means, which is good because that means they have to come and ask me what it means. So they don't come with any prior knowledge. So this is a collaboration between Fairfax Media and the Schwa Lab at SIT, the School of Information Technology at Sydney Uni. So that's a Fizzing Panda. So the challenge for us was how to unlock a massive corpus of news text, photos, and videos. We've got 25 million photos. We've got 187 years of text. We've got we're one of the largest producers of video in Australia, like short form video, I should say, not how then do we take this unstructured text and make it machine readable? Because we want to do all these kinds of cool hacks and tricks with it. How do we provide this? Therefore, the output of this, how do we provide news discovery tools for our readers? And then augment the workflows so that our editors and journalists can then use that, like you guys said, to discover better stories, the outliers, those sort of interesting things. So, I've got to give props to our partners. So, Sydney Uni, Schwa Labs, on that side of the academic fence, Fairfax Media and Future Services, which is my team, and Capital Markets CRC is the sort of glue that holds us together. So this is very much about the robots and dinosaurs meeting. So we've got a lot of text. It's the classic newsprint being sucked in. We've got a lot of machines that want to read it and interpret it, and it's about how can we make these come together. So if I could describe Fizzing Panda in a tweet, which I did this afternoon, is a state-of-the-art computational linguistics platform trained on Australian news text by journalists. So I've been working on this project for 2 years. I've been in meetings with people and we talk about computational linguistics and no one gets it. Like, no one, we sit around, we can talk about it for days and it's really hard. So the best thing to do is to actually start demoing it. But this all stems from my belief, and this is just a conjecture, I haven't been able to prove it yet, that all news, transactions and events can be expressed as entity interactions. Entity A did something in entity B to entity C, and if you can pull these threads out, you can actually reinterpret the stories, recombine the stories. I'm not talking about creating news from a corpus of work, I'm talking about finding ways of linking the news together, and then therefore once you've got that, we can actually do things like recommendation, personalize, identify entities inside based upon strings and mentions. We can now cluster these things together as concepts, and then we can use that as a discovery tool. So the rest of the time, we just want to demo the hell out of this thing. So who has seen... Sorry, I've just got to... thrown by not having both. So our first experiment was in Zoom, which we've softly launched on the smh.com. So this is using Fizzing Panda, but it's very much a tool that the topic here is Aldi. And this is the timeline of stories that we try to show. There's 27 years of data loaded, and it can go all the way back. And you'll see first mentions of Aldi, and that line will keep going back, I think, to 1987 things. And then we're trying to show, this is purely by machine learning, we're trying to show what are the topics associated. And you can click on that and drill down and keep going and discovering what is Woolworths and see their timeline, and what's the difference between Woolworths Limited and Woolworths Group as it's presented in the news and lots of stuff. And then this is kind of to tap into sort of the photography and the rich content, like the Pinterest style. So we wanted to keep pushing that, and we're now looking at trying to take the same view. This is just all experimental stuff. This is not live anywhere. And we're going to say, well, we're going to pull out the concept that is Labour politicians, and then look at how the news is clustered throughout time. So you can see that we're starting to pull out eras based upon which politicians were talked about when. Which I actually think that's really cool. I really like that visualization. And when you start doing things like looking at telecommunications, you can see where Telecom Australia died and Telstra was born and all that sort of stuff. So you can actually see transitions quite well. Okay, I'm just going to hand it over to the Wills, and they're going to take it through some more.
Yep. We're going to do that one first.
Yep. Okay. So, before Zoom, internally at Sydney Uni we had a demo of this. So we've been working on it for about 2 years. We haven't had 27 years of data for a long time, but this demo that we have here is based on two years of data or something like that. So a bit of a description about what we're actually doing when we talk about computational linguistics and concepts and all that sort of stuff. We've taken a dump of Wikipedia, and we use Wikipedia as our entity source, and we do a bit of machine learning over each Wikipedia pages to determine whether it's a category page or if it's actually representing a concept, person, location, or an organisation or a topic. We do some link analysis to work out all the names that can be used to express or to refer to a certain concept. We do other analysis based on links inside of web pages, and we have lots and lots of different ways of building up a list of aliases for each concept that we look at linking. When we take news text, the first process that we run is called named entity recognition. Named entity recognition just tries to find spans of text that could refer to a concept, could refer to a person or a location or a topic. The next step is called named entity linking, and that's the process of, given a bit of text in a news article, trying to determine which of the concepts we know about, and we know about 3.9 million concepts, which of those that particular bit of text is actually talking about. So if you see the string John Howard, it could, in an Australian context, refer to John Howard, the ex-Prime Minister, or John Howard, the Australian actor. And we look at the context that the John Howard appears in, the other entities that we've linked inside of the article to try and determine whether it's about a politician or whether it's about an entertainment person. And we're actually quite good at this. We're the second best in the world at doing this. So, yeah, we're pretty happy at how good the technology actually is.
Who's the first best?
Microsoft Research.
They paid their budget's bigger than ours. That's right. And when they say best, I mean this is independently tested at the NIST text conference that yearly. So there's a Grand Prix to do this. It's not just us going we're second best. Really, it is the second best.
So I think the Microsoft system is actually based on a kind of running sort of live commercial system that they've adapted back for this sort of shared task to evaluate.
So one of the obvious things you can do given a concept is just see the articles that concept has been mentioned in, and that's kind of the whole point of Zoom. Given a concept like Audi or John Howard, you want to see all the articles mentioning that concept, and that's what we have here. But another view that we have, and this isn't actually part of Zoom, but when you click through to an article, we're highlighting all the linking decisions that we've made in this article. So
the
different colours are the different types of entity. So I guess that sort of pale blue that we can't really see is the people, and then get back to, I think, locations as well, organisations and topics, and miss.
Yeah. So there's some interesting things that we do with the Wikipedia concepts. So Wikipedia concepts, if you're looking at people, locations and organisations, they're quite obviously concepts. But one of the requests we had from Fairfax was to also look at topics, and that's things like carbon tax.
Tax on carbon.
Yeah, tax on carbon. Batting average is apparently a topic as well. At the moment, we're relying on Wikipedia having a mention of these topics for us to know that we can actually link to them. But one of the things that we're doing with Fairfax is the editors and the journalists, as they're writing a story, are going to start annotating the linking decisions that we make. So if we incorrectly link John Howard to the wrong John Howard, they can fix that up, and the system learns from that. If we miss out a topic, the journalists can add it.
That's 10 minutes. It's not recommended.
Yep. Okay, on that, I guess.
Okay, so this is a really kind of much more alpha application that we've come up with. So the basic idea was that if we can do linking, well, can we use it to help improve and speed up story creation or anything like that? So what I hope is going to work is... So you can see, as I was typing live, we were analysing it in real time and producing some links to there. You know what? It doesn't know about it because I've spelled that wrong. And you can see we've hyperlinked it there. There is a stray bracket, but don't worry about that. And then we've also got the entity sort of panel on the side. Also, it's okay. Another thing we can do is that because we're using Wikipedia, Wikipedia has all sorts of information about these entities. So I can use macros like age, and it will just go and automatically put that in. Let's see. So basically, you can do as much as Wikipedia's got information for.
We're going to get our journalists to start. That's why I'm saying it's going to be annotated by journalists. They're going to start fact filling now, and we're working on algorithms at the moment to actually extract facts from text. So is a date of birth mentioned? Is an event? Is a Logie win mentioned? Has someone set a star sign in an entertainment thing? These things will start being pulled in. So as the journalist was typing in the new CMS we're building, the story gets edited. The story gets created and edited, and over here it will start searching like a personal assistant on their behalf through all of our video archives, all of our photo archives, Hansard. We even got WikiLeaks pumped in there, and all these other things. And the final goal, and sorry, I will finish up here. Is my. Option escape. Did you close it down? Sorry, I just can't see. Yeah, it's alright. And the final thing, and I've actually got a working demo of this, a working video of this, is we are also applying it to video. So we're now feeding through video daily. We're pulling out faces. We're OCR text reading off the thing. We can identify where Tanya Pilbasek is speaking. Audio, and so we're doing audio voice printing, and we're doing facial recognition. So soon when you do a story about Tanya Pilbasek, we'll also recommend every video we've seen on her, and every time she's spoken in text, every time she's spoken in Parliament, Hansard, all that sort of stuff. So we're still a way to go. We're working with QUT on that, but the system is close. The API is RESTful. We can we can talk about access to it if people want. Anyway, that's it. Any questions? Or it's a big system, been worked on for a long time. Right. Sorry, it doesn't work with Methode. It's RESTful. So if Methode, if Methode can make call outs to that, then go for it. I have nothing nice to say about Methode. So
The Zoom soft launch, is that currently like a template, or is someone actually editing what appears? Like, is it just automatic?
yeah, so we've got an editor that just picks topics that they think is sort of partially relevant or has a good example. Zoom is a very soft launch. We've done no publicity on it. It's very much beta. In fact, a lot of our own journalists internally have never even heard of it. But this is a bit of a change of direction for Fairfax. We petitioned to be allowed to put up something that was clearly not ready yet, to be publicly tested. And we know, and it's right down the bottom of the page, we know that it's only other data nerds that are looking at it. And you can actually go in and put any topic you like. You just got to put the right magic string at the top, and the magic string's got from Wiki. So if there's a topic you haven't got, put it in there, and you can get a JSON feed for that.
I'm just more thinking, like, is it possible to actually edit how the information gets put in, so you have the timeline and you have mentions?
That's templated at the moment.
Can you explain the magic word? So you had slash out, and you're saying it was slash
Slash
something.
John Howard.
Right.
John _ Howard. It's you need to be specific. Yeah, it's case sensitive,
Right.
and for disambiguation, we follow the Wiki disambiguation standard.
So basically, if you can find the Wikipedia page, just
Take the
take the
slide.
name and replace space with
Just-
parentheses. Just do parentheses.
It does now.
Yeah.
That was a launch bug. That was interesting. So, even though we're using Wiki as our seed, our goal is to actually start generating our own pages with our own content, sourced by, in our own way.
Is there going to be a point where you can just track emerging trends, emerging phrases?
Yeah, that's the holy grail, right? Yep. It's a tough crowd, Nick.
Yeah, so in our demo, we do have trending people and trending organisations.
This is a snapshot of a few months ago because we've been concentrating on Zoom since. So
The answer is it's not easy. It can pull some stuff. I've seen it pull out some concepts, and it's based upon frequency of mention. There is a sweet spot between a concept being mentioned too infrequently, where it's very noisy, or too much and it's too general, like Australia. If you put Australia in Zoom, you're going to get the most diverse. Because do we mean the landmass, the continent? Do we mean the government of Australia? Do we mean Australians? Do we mean the culture of Australia, the products of Australia? It gets journalists refer to Australia as shorthand for a whole number of things. So big topics, like topics that get mentioned a lot, Sydney, Australia, United States, it's going to be a very diverse thing. And you also see that when you look at something like Australia, the co-mentions with South Africa and England are very high because we so often talk about those countries together in sport. And we write so many articles. So this is actually a reflection tool for our own journalists to look at how do we actually refer to Australia? How do we refer to Julie Gillard? How do we write about these people? It's interesting stuff. The data is massive. I mean, how many? What's the size of it?
There's a bit over 3 million articles over 27 years, and we've got OCR'd text back to 1830, I think.
And we're about to hand over 25 million photos to be facial recognition. So it's a big, and it's going to take a long time, but it's going to get better and better and better. We haven't even talked about the ability for letting the users train the system and by their own standards as well, which is a passionate topic of mine. But anyway.
What about relationships between entities? So if you go into the Julia Gillard page
yeah.
on Zoom and you want to find out, so spouse and then other prime ministers and then couples.
Yeah. So we haven't got them named. The system can identify because they're so often talked about. This is where a journalist, when they go to file a story, might say, this is an interesting relationship that we've never seen before. Can you just give a single name to it? Now we can't force journalists to do that, but we hope that researchers and other systems, because we might be able to download a list of celebrities and their their spouses kind of thing and just preload that, if you know what I mean. It depends on the data. So here you can see the relationships, topics, quotations. You know, this is automatically pulling out photos of Julia Gillard. No human has been involved in putting these topic pages together. It's just completely automated. WikiLeaks, unfortunately, we're loaded. Julia Gillard isn't mentioned in WikiLeaks, so it's empty. The topics she's been associated with, which we can also get from Hansard, how often does she say certain words? You know, discussions, social media mentions of Julia Gillard. And all of this is to provide a nice workflow tool for the journalists to start, because they don't have time to sit and read through 25 different social sites and follow this Twitter feed and look up that photo feed and syndication. We're syndicating more and more content and all that. And we want to give them access to as many of these sort of research assistants as we can, pull it right into the editor, let them drag it in saying, I didn't know we'd just finished putting up a video on Julia Gillard talking about carbon tax, because I don't have time to watch 25 videos that we produced in the last hour. But here, this recommends this video because we're audio keyword spotting the word carbon tax, and we know that it's Julia Gillard's voice. You know, or in a radio interview or something like that.
It's pretty casual.
Hi.
Since entities associate with each other, the interesting meaning as well as the context, you plan to use semantic web concepts for instead of backwards.
Well, it's I know we've talked about it, and also using this to embed back micro-formatted data. So when we talk about Julia Gillard, actually having some of this factual data about which Julia Gillard we mean, but
You can extract some of the relation data just from Wikipedia info boxes, so that might actually be spouses, which is how we got Tony Abbott's wife. But we're also starting to look at Freebase for more of that structured data, because also, quite apart from being able to be a more useful tool, it can help us actually make the linking decisions in the first place. So if we see Margaret Abbott, then maybe it's more likely to be Tony Abbott.
Well, we're also going to start back putting in behavioural data, so looking at counts of stuff. So if there's 25 articles written about Tony Abbott, and someone in a comment just said, in that section says Tony, it's more likely that they were talking about Tony Abbott. So we're going to be also using traffic data to help make more intelligent decisions about what it might be. So the system learned that Mad Monk was equated to Tony Abbott, but this is where a journalist types in a story and invents a catchphrase, and the system says, I don't know who you're talking about. And all they've got to do is say, I meant Tony Abbott. And that's it. From that point on, the system goes back and looks through all the corpus of work and learns, have we used Mad Monk before? And now we'll include Mad Monk in the search for Tony Abbott. There's a lot of legal problems around this, we're quite aware of. But you can search now for just K-Rudd, and you will get articles that never mention K-Rudd, but actually say the Honourable, Kevin Rudd, because they're synonymous now in our system. Anyway, so it's really interesting stuff. Sydney Uni guys are really good at what they're doing, and I hope we're going to start demonstrating. In the next 6 months, you'll see a lot of products coming out that start tapping into making the new semantic.
Sorry to open Pandora's box, but what are your current thoughts about the expected property of the data, the linkages, potential contribution back to public databases?
My personal thoughts, or do you want me to speak with my Fairfax hat on?
A bit of the Fairfax hat, like what does the organisation feel the usefulness of this data is outside the organisation?
Well,
and how it will interact?
it's a bit of a mixed bag. It depends who you ask. There's a lot of people internally who would like to see us put this API up well documented and say go for it. As long as you use it for non-commercial purposes, then feel free to annotate links, feel free to draw and create your own categorizations, and here's some categorizations that we've discovered in our text. I would love to start adding more data from other sources that people want to bring their own data to it, but that view is not shared by everyone, and I don't really know which side's going to win, if you know what I mean, at the moment.
How much is the government's approach influenced?
We started working on this 2 years ago, so I mean, I admire the Guardian a lot, and they certainly shape me and how I do my data visualizations now. But honestly, I haven't even thought about the Guardian for this part. Our biggest sort of, I can't speak for these guys because they've been working on this stuff for a lot longer. My biggest hero in this was Thomson Reuters with Open Calais, but Open Calais was just not accurate enough for what we wanted to do. Our journalists would not like to have all these suggestions that could be this, might be that. This is more accurate, demonstrably more accurate, but it's still not perfect. We've got a long way to go.